I think we got our first-hand, for anybody who didn't already have a first-hand glimpse of the Port Authority by hearing a commissioner who didn't seem to ask a question about anything. I've used this term since the beginning of this investigation, that I'm always curious about everybody else's lack of curiosity. And I guess it's kind of summed it up. I don't know, I didn't ask. And I think it clearly points, as we work on Port Authority reform legislation, about clarifying the commissioner's responsibilities, fiduciary responsibilities, as well as every other responsibility. And it clearly points us to the fact that that will have to be spelled out very clearly in any future legislation.
So was it that he didn't ask questions, or that he did ask questions and didn't divulge that today? I mean, how much
I can only go on what he testified under oath.
Well, from my perspective, I think we have a budding public health crisis here, because time and time again we have people coming in with broad memory lapses about anything they knew or heard or said about the lane closures, and that's troubling, and it really calls into question the integrity of some of the testimony we've heard. But what's troubling about Mr. Schuber's testimony is, as a commissioner of the Port Authority, he had testified that he has a fiduciary responsibility to the users, the ratepayers, the toll payers, and to the people of the state of New Jersey. Yet in acting on behalf of those people, he asked no questions, had no curiosity, had no follow-up, and on many occasions had no interest in what was happening in front of him. And if nothing else happens from this investigation, we know that we need to have commissioners that take a more serious view of their responsibilities as commissioners, who will ask questions. As Senator Weinberg said, there's a curious lack of curiosity when serious issues are put in front of these commissioners. They all collectively acted as if they didn't ask questions, they wouldn't be held accountable. And the reality is they are now being held accountable, and they claim to have no knowledge. That's troubling.
I'm good.
One of the things that I came across was the commissioners lack any staff of any sort. I mean, you heard that they were being briefed by the deputy executive director, like how to rely upon whatever they were told by the staff, right?
There are, if you've ever been to a Port Authority meeting, there are, I haven't exactly counted them, but about 30 senior staff that sit at every single meeting behind permanent, looks like to me, permanent desks that are there because they come every month. They face the Port Authority commissioners. So I assume that staff must be there so that a commissioner can ask them a question if they have a question. They have the executive director and the deputy executive director sit up at the head of that senior staff and are available. And I will tell you, I went to the subcommittee meeting that we referred to at the beginning of October, and again, meetings in October, November, and December, where there were millions of dollars flowing through resolutions, mostly about airports at that point. And nobody asked a question. So if you deem that your responsibility as a commissioner on the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey is just to depend upon whatever it was the last executive director or deputy executive director told you, I would suggest, having been both a board member on various boards as well as an elected official, I don't consider that my responsibility is to ask the questions so that I can make an informed decision.
Well, I think one of the things that gets lost in this committee room for many people when they're hearing the answers to these questions is exactly the dynamic that Senator Weinberg said exists at Port Authority meetings, because those commissioners sit on a dais, and facing them literally are 20 or 30 individuals who are all manner of staff on all issues that could affect the
And mostly
agency.
men, by the way.
And at the point in time that I went with Senator Weinberg in November, and I spoke to the commissioners, and Senator Weinberg did, and Assemblyman Johnson did, and Freeholder Tedesco did, they all were presented with facts from the four of us who spoke about this very issue. Any one of them had the ability to say to Mr. Bookbinder or Mr. Baroni or Mr. Foy or anyone else who was facing them, can you explain to me what happened? And instead, the testimony that we provided that day in front of the commissioners was met with stony silence. And that is part of the problem with the Port Authority, is there is no dialogue, there is no discourse. It is, scarily reminiscent of a Politburo meeting in which everybody votes yes and then leaves the room.
How did you feel about being called a jerk by David Sampson?
I've been called a jerk by bigger men than he. So, no, I kind of laughed at that. It was sort of a benign comment, and people say things like that in emails. I didn't take that seriously at all. So,
What about the second part of that statement?
well, I
Seemed to
found
intimate
that
he was retaliating.
so outrageous that I wrote a letter to find out on behalf of the constituents that both Pat Schuber and I represent, because of an election that happened 15 years ago. I mean, I guess I must be another scorned woman. I can join the Bridget Kelly group. She got dissed by her boyfriend, and I lost an election 15 years ago. So obviously, everything that we do must be colored by that. You'll pardon me, as a moment of sincere anger, I was sort of joking up until now. It really shows a mindset about things. Another one we don't take seriously? Another one, fill in the blank, woman.
What is the next step for the panel?
Right.
We are going to, our attorney is working on a list in conjunction with the entire committee of both Port Authority folks that we think we should be talking to and other people who might know more about the lane closures or might add to the issues around the lane closures. Our attorney and OLS will have those lists ready to present to our committee sometime by the beginning of next week, and then we'll take it from there.
All right?
So more subpoenas? Any idea how many?
Okay?
We're working on that. We'll get that
No
to
idea
you.
how many. Okay.
All right, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.